What we're going to be shaving with today is the first use. I did just do a test lather just now with a dollar store soap, just to kind of take some of the funk off of it, and also just to kind of get it wet and warmed up and things like that. I do expect to have quite a few hairs coming off this guy as we shave. This is a Frank shaving Silvertip knot, 22 millimeter, I believe, and good to go. So first thing I'll do is, one of the great things to do is use OxiClean. Soak it for a few minutes in a light solution of OxiClean, and then come back to it, rinse it out, really clean the brush out, and then go back for another soak in the OxiClean. Do that 3 times. And Whip Dog recommended that, and I've done that on their brushes as well as some others. Works really well to defunk the brush, give it a good cleaning. The soap we have today has been soaking in cold water, a little bit of cold water, and it's a tiny, slim puck of Williams mug soap. The razor we're going to use today, and the blade is my Gillette Nacet. We've got 50 uses on it, and then here's the back side. So this is going to be 61 that we're going to do today. And take it out very gingerly. Protect the blade. At this point, I don't really care if I get cut. Just protecting that edge, because we're going to see if they can take this guy to 100. I'm going to set him aside for now. And the blade that we're going to use is this Grande, Fatip Grande. And as you can see, it's an open comb. This is version 1. As far as I know, you can tell version 1 because there's no logo on the underside. It's a more aggressive version of this razor. The newer version is, they calmed it down a little bit. But this blade, in its age, really prefers a razor that's at least medium, if not a little bit on the aggressive side. Does really well in my aggressive dart. So let's try this Grande and see what happens. The only drawback, well, I think there's 2 drawbacks with these Fatips. I think they're great razors. I think some people have reported maybe some plating problems, that sort of thing. The one cool thing about them is they are brass and they're plated, just like the old vintage Gillettes. And so the core of them will last, many, many, many years. And the other thing, other than the, if you happen to get one that, doesn't have good plating, buy it from a reputable vendor and you can return it. But the blade, when you put it in the razor, sometimes takes a second to get it straight because there's a lot of play. The blade just sits on 3 posts and there's a good bit of play there. I'm going to set the base plate on there. Unfortunately, the Fatips go by a different screwing mechanism, and so it's not exactly the same as what we use. And so you can't swap out cool handles. Technically you could, because sometimes it does fit, but if you would bear down too hard on it or something, then it could potentially strip the threads or something, because it's not an exact match. And so now I'm just looking at the alignment just to kind of show you how long it takes. I think that's got it close enough. There we go. So sometimes it takes 3 seconds. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And lather bowl, ridged bottom, taller than average, to contain the soap, keep it from flying out. I like to mix the whole 3.5 passes of soap at once in the beginning. And I believe that's all. All right, get my face wet and we can start shaving. It's been 24 hours-ish since my last shave. Pour out the soap bloom water. Use a small puck down there. I'm going to load for quite a while because I'm going to shake out all the water from the brush. Oh man, I keep forgetting. That's my usual method, but with Williams I find that you really need to kind of come into the soap with, you know, some water on the brush. And so I've kind of put some water back on it. I'll do a couple of shakes. This is a larger brush than I've messed with before because we can kind of add water back in. I don't want to make it over soapy. All right, so now let's do it for a minute because this is a small puck. Oh good, it's not moving around. Yesterday it was moving around. I think I started at 30 seconds. It was moving around and made it difficult to actually, you know, get the bristles moving across it because the bristles were pushing it. Sorry about the clinking. All right, so that's almost 40 seconds there. And I'm also curious, the reason I'm doing 1 minute load is because I'm not doing a hot water soak like I have in the past. Okay, then that's 50 seconds. This looks like plenty, but just for grins, I'll go ahead and go all the way to 30. And there we go. I'll probably end up with plenty of lather. And there we go. Still that much left. This little sucker is dying slowly. All right. Then I'll take it to my bowl here. Just start going. I tried a Frank shaving brush knot a while back. When was it? May-ish, maybe. And because it is a popular brush knot maker. I will show you right away. We've got some airy lather. It's very thin. Push past it. You got to push past it. This is not a good lather to shave with. And that Frank shaving knot, it was prickly. The tips were just prickly, and it was uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy shaving with it. And so I thought this has got to be some kind of mistake, because I had used several Silvertips before, and I had never experienced that kind of feel from the tips. And so I sent it back, and it was, you know, you buy them from China. I bought it from China over eBay, and that's right from the maker. It takes a while to get here, but it's a whole lot cheaper than going through some middleman. And I think I'm glad right now that I shook out all that water that I did. It's just a bigger knot that holds a lot more water than the brushes I've used in the past. So because of the prickliness, I sent it back. They were very nice. They took it back. There was a little bit of communication issue, but you know, refund. I shipped it back to them. They took it back. Then I got a hold of another knot from Golden Nib, and it had a little bit of prickle to it. Not nearly as much as the Frank shaving knot, but the prickle disappeared after a while. So I said, oh, maybe I was too hasty, because I wanted to return it before the time limit, you know, the eBay purchase time limit had run out. So a month ago or something, I decided Frank shaving is a good purveyor of knots. A lot of people buy them. So let's give them another shake. Glad I loaded for so long. May have still had too much water in this thing here. Yeah, it should have come together before now. So I'm going to kind of put some of the soap back in, and let's go back into the puck. And let's load for another 30 seconds. That was starting at 06. So we'll load till we see 36. So what I'm thinking is, and there we go. Thinking I'll just, you know, it's a good knot probably, and I'll just have to work past the prickle and see what happens. This is taking a little bit. Normally it just takes a few minutes to could get Williams to behave like with my bore brush. I'm actually going to switch arms, so this is going to feel a little awkward. But for me, I don't know, have I ever used my left hand to whip up a lather? Anyway, since this is a little strange, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause you. Alright, I ended up adding about a quarter of a teaspoon of water. Let's do our finger test. A little bit of cushion. Nice. Not a lot of slickness on the fingertips though. Interesting. I'll have to see how that goes. I may have to go back to the puck and make it a little richer or something like that. Alright, get my face wet. And here we go. Well, there's no prickle at all on this one. How about that? Very soft. Very, very soft. Kind of killing the lather. Look at that. Possible sometimes new brushes can do that. Wow, just killed it. So what I'm going to do, go back to the tub here. Now here's something interesting. Why don't we go back, because hey, no rules. It's your shave. I'm just going to do a couple of swirls kind of on the puck. Let's see what happens. Should have enough moisture on my face. And it's not coming up. And that's all right. I'll go back to the puck a little bit more. And then add a little bit of water to the brush. So right now it's almost more like a face lather. Very soft brush right off the bat here. Not really getting too much badger funk. And so I'm gonna get kind of nutty, and I poured a little bit of water in the mug, soap mug. And let's see if we can use that to kind of build everything up here. There we go. Looks like it's a little thin, but William's just kind of a funny guy sometimes. And I got him pretty well tweaked when what I'm working with is my one of my bore brushes. but this is a new brush. Yeah, there we go. Well, one good thing about all the face scrubbing is we've done a good exfoliation. Very nice. Yeah, you know, tempted to just call it on that little puck. It just seems like because it's so small, it's either I just need to load for longer, or maybe the hot soak was just a crucial element. I'm doing cold soaks lately. All right, so here we go. Fatip Grande, it's an Italian make. Oh, that's good cutting. No pulling at all. Oh, that's very good. That's a very good match for my skin between razor and blade. Definitely not a rich lather. I think the problem definitely getting more soap on the brush in the loading process. All right, I'm gonna rinse that off. All right, let's see how the second pass works. Well, I'm really glad that I got the 22 millimeter knot because this is splaying big time. So this is a little bit on the toward the floppy end of the spectrum. It's not middle of the range either. This is for people who want soft comfort in their brushes. Really soft, you know, tips and that sort of thing. Now look, it's kind of fading again. So I'm just going to go back to my guy here. There we go, it's starting to come back together. Really nice comfort on this one. Yeah, so those prickly tips are just not present in this knot at all. How about that? Don't have to worry about trying to make it through. Oh, such a smooth shave here. Hopefully it's being effective and not just feeling smooth because it's not cutting hairs. I don't mind publishing videos about batches that I screwed up, you know, lathers, because, you know, maybe that'll help you when you make one that's too wet. Not really stretching my skin too much. Stretching it a lot is not a good idea. Just a little bit is sometimes exactly what you need to do. very smooth shaving here. I mean, I'm feeling the blade just a little bit. I mean, that's a good razor. So knowing the issues I was probably going to have, I went right back to the cup of soap, loaded up more soap. Now let's add some of the watery lather from the bowl, so then maybe the moisture with that can combine with the new soap and give me something nice. A lot of good slickness I'm feeling from my skin when I do the rinses. And so it's just a lesson that even though it looks thin, a good soap will still impart slickness to your skin, even though it doesn't look like you have a rich lather. Slickness and richness are not the same thing. And there we go. Smooth, smooth, smooth. It is a little inconvenient when lather bits are flying off as you're applying your soap. But if you've never had that happen, I would encourage you to try it sometime with a good soap. Because what you'll discover, you may discover a whole new world of slickness that you didn't know existed just because it's messy. And I've got crazy slickness off my face right now. Tons of glide. And a lot of people never go that far because they think it should look like Santa's beard or something like that. And there are certain soaps that you'll learn that you can take that far, and some that you can't. A lot of times that's what determines a good soap from a great soap. Sometimes you'll see an old school barber doing a video, and his lather, I've seen some of those guys, and their lather doesn't look like, you know, shaving cream, a big old beard thing. It's light and slick and thin, and because they know what they're doing, and they know that that's the performance that gets them those good close shaves. All right, so we will do the third plus, fourth pass on my neck only. Just to polish off and get those trouble spot area hairs right here as kind of as good as we can. On my neck here, right here, I try not to go straight across this way. Try to tilt it a little bit. It seems to give me, or from the bottom, either from the top or from the bottom, just come at it as an oblique angle, because it tends to like skip or hit the bumps the wrong way for my skin. Your skin may be totally different. There we go. Let's just see how that shave is going to end up. Okay, got a great shave last night from the Dart. Went back to it. It's an aggressive razor. And this guy might be on the same level of aggression, but he's smoother. And that's just what you get with these Fatips. The Testina Gentile is the one that's more a mild version of this one. It's closed comb, whereas this one's open comb. And this guy just gave me a great shave. There are just a few tips here that didn't get cut that I see just a little tiny bit of length on, but so many of those hairs cause me trouble constantly, and they're gone. And so this is way above average, and it's done on a 61 use blade. So there we go. If you don't want to throw away a blade after 7 uses or whatever the average is these days, maybe you don't have to. I mean, they're cheap, and so you can if you want. But I'm having fun with keeping going with this guy. 61 uses. We're into the next decade of uses. All right. See, I don't know if I get to 100, but if I look at the chart of quality that I've gotten, there have been dips, but then the next day or two it'll rebound and the quality is really staying the same. I'm not seeing a slow decline or anything like that. And so it sure seems like this guy's going to go 100. Now, according to guys online, it's less dependent on the blade, more dependent on your technique. The Pull Silver, Feather, Astra, Superior Platinum, Balzano, I believe is the right, if I'm remembering correctly, as well as this Nacet, Gillette Silver Blue, Gillette Platinum. Those are all excellent blades that have gone the distance to 100 to 60. They've gone the distance for certain people. And so it's possible with many blades. It's, you know, I'm not saying go out and buy a bunch of Nacets, right? I mean, I think they're a great blade. They work well for me. Hopefully they work well for you, but that's uncertain. You never know. That's why I buy a small quantity of whatever blade you choose. But what I'm saying is you may very well have a blade in your cabinet that you could take this far. One of the secrets is apparently use more aggressive razors. Mild razors just don't give you as good of a cut. At least it's been my experience and a shared experience with online with some guys. And if you do feel, if you get a junk shave where the results are just not that great, keep on going. That doesn't mean you're at the end, because that dip has happened for me a few times. Anyway, so there's some tips if you really feel like having doing something different with your shave routine instead of pitching those blades. It's kind of funny to think that one of those 5-piece tucks of blades, little square guy, could conceivably be a 1.5 years of blades, instead of just 5 weeks. But anyway, I'm going to keep cleaning up. I'm super happy with this brush. The prickliness of the knot was just absent totally, and a big splay, lots of comfort, a little bit of a wiriness feeling. One of the things to break it in even further and soften things up, Mitchell's wool fat has a lot of lanolin in it, and my research online suggested that one of the things you could do is make up a lather with lanolin, let the brush sit for 24 hours with, kind of standing up with that lather in it, and that will soak in and soften up the bristles, the tips, and help to remove badger funk. But I didn't really notice any, so for me, the funk isn't really a big deal. So with what we saw tonight, I find that usually if you need to add more soap to what you're doing, it takes a lot of time and energy to take the brush, load it with some soap from the cup, and then come back into your existing lather and try to reintegrate that. Just kind of a waste of time. It's just a lot of time, a lot of energy. When to me, it's usually much better to kind of acknowledge that this is not really going to be a bowl lather that you stick with, and just go right to the face with it, and that richness will start to come up. Maybe you can then mix some of the bowl lather in or something like that. But if your lather's too dry, it's pretty easy to add a little water to what you have in the bowl. But if it's too wet, I advise you to skip trying to reintegrate it in the bowl. Go right to the face from the cup. So the soap's a little frustrating. Small puck still in there. It's thin, but it's hanging in there. I'm thinking I'm going to drop back to the brush that I used during August. I'm going to drop back to the hot soak method and see if it jumps back into a paradigm that I'm familiar with, and see if it gets back to behaving. And then I know that even the small puck can still deliver. You know, I don't have to adjust my times, but I think I'll do that, because right now I'm doing too many variables. I got this big Badger brush. You know, I haven't exactly calculated the water that it should contain when it comes into the mug to start loading the brush, and that's a lot of variables, since it could be the brush, could be the water, it could be the tiny puck at the bottom that's difficult to get a good lather on, to get good surface contact with. So I want to eliminate all those variables except for all the unknowns, switch back to my old pattern and see how it does. Probably do that. Hey, face feels great, no irritation. I've got oily skin, so I don't really have to worry about this kind of soap. If you do have oily, dry skin, then I don't know if this is going to be a good soap for you. Obviously, you can follow it up with balms and moisturizers and things like that. But my understanding is sometimes those dry skin folks need to stick with a soap that kind of contributes to hydration instead of just relying on the balm to do that. And speaking of balms, just for grins, I haven't used this guy in a while. And I really like the scent, and the performance is good. So down here, the skin feels just a little tender. I don't when I move my hand across it. One of the problems was, since I had to do so much face lathering, I did more brush activity on my skin than I usually do. Yeah, it's a good scent. And so brush burn is the phrase when you know, you're doing so much brushing, or it's so harsh on your skin that it actually, you know, causes a little bit of irritation because of the friction and contact and stuff. So there we go, shave's done. Face feels great, no irritation. Always impressed when I turn to the Fatips, because they're surprising with their smoothness and still cutting ability. Really happy there. As I stated, really happy with the brush. If you want one that's, I'd say, like a 3 out of 10 in terms of stiffness, it is just very comfortable, very light. There's not a lot of backbone there, and the current trend with brushes like this from Declaration is to have a lot of backbone, a lot of density. The backbone is, you know, here in this part of the strand, but then the tips are super soft. And that's the kind of current trend, and it's definitely appealing to some people, and I kind of like them both. As long as you can get that one that I just showed you to open up and splay really well and not be too stiff. But I tell you, sometimes when I put on the lather with the brush that I used tonight, it's just light, very enjoyable. And sometimes it may take just a little longer to stir up a hard soap or something like that, but it'll do it. And there we go. So the funk wasn't a problem when I got it wet the first time, and I just used, it was there, very noticeable, but I just used a bar of nice creamy soap from the Dollar Tree, and it cleared it right up. Just one little short practice lather, and I didn't really notice it during my shave with the Williams. Super pleased with the Nacet because of the great results. It's still kicking, going strong. So all factors today of it was a little irritating going back to the mug, but hey, you know, those are skills you gotta hone. And next time I know to maybe load a lot more if I want to do the cold water. I'm sure that the hot water does pull more soap, soften the surface more than the cold water does. I'm sure that's probably a lot of it. and then you compound it with it. It's a small puck at the very bottom. Anyway, I hope there was something here that's helpful to you. I am Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care. Have a good night.